What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Draft Hub. We are rolling right along with my picks for week 4 of the college football season. Last week was arguably my worst week so far, 55 and 14 for an overall record of 181 and 36 overall. Week 1, I went 56 and 9. Week 2, I went 70 and 13. Week 3 was really one of the first weeks with a bunch of bye weeks, only 69. Nice games overall. But week 4, we have some doozies in there, some pretty close calls. So we're going to get into it in just a bit. But before we get into the actual video itself, I'd like to just say that if you enjoy videos like this, college football videos, NFL draft videos, I do all of that and I'm uploading every single day. So if you're new to the channel, please leave a like and subscribe. And let's get into these college football week 4 picks. Now, we're starting on Thursday, September 18th, with a game between Rice and Charlotte. I know that really gets me up in the morning to think to myself, I have to go to work all day, but I could watch Rice versus Charlotte when I get home. Despite that, despite the poor matchup and the poor optics, I'm going to take Rice over Charlotte. I think they've been relatively impressive so far to start the season. So I'm going to take Rice over Charlotte. Tulsa and Oklahoma State moving down to our Friday matchups here. Give me Oklahoma State. Tulsa is just both teams just really aren't that great, but Oklahoma State, I think, are more than equipped to fend off Tulsa. Then you have Iowa taking on Rutgers. Maybe a little bit of a surprise here. I do have Rutgers beating Iowa. I think the offense for Rutgers has just looked exceptional so far this year. Granted, they haven't really played any crazy opponents up until this point, but I feel like the offense, despite going up against a better overall Iowa team on the defensive side, I think their offense will be able to outmatch Iowa's offense. So give me Rutgers there. Then moving on to our big noon Saturday games here. Kicking off with an absolute doozy between Texas Tech and Utah. I don't think either team losing is particularly devastating to the team itself for the overall season. Texas Tech really has like 2 really hard games on their schedule, and this being one of them. But give me Utah over Texas Tech. Devin Dampier just has kind of just transferred in and has been unbelievable since transferring in. Texas Tech and Baron Morton have been unbelievable so far, but this is clearly going to be the toughest test that they've faced up until this point. Maybe they'll surprise us, but give me the slight edge to Utah here in this one, especially away from home. Then you have Arkansas and Memphis. Give me Arkansas. They've been really exciting so far this year, and Memphis has looked good, but they've also played some far inferior opponents. And Arkansas, despite not being what they once were, have Talon Green, and he's been great so far this season. So give me the Razorbacks over the Tigers in that one. Maryland and Wisconsin. Give me Maryland. Malik Washington has been unbelievable so far to start off his collegiate career, and Wisconsin is just kind of not great. I know that the line is huge on this one. They don't believe in Maryland at all in this game, but give me Maryland over Wisconsin in this, especially away from home. I think with college football, especially the lines, home field advantage and overall atmosphere plays a huge part in that. So I understand, but give me Maryland over Wisconsin. Then you have Syracuse versus the fraudulent Clemson Tigers. Give me the Clemson Tigers here. They got to be angry at this point. Syracuse, despite winning a couple games so far this year, just haven't really looked overall that great, especially on the defensive side. They played some competitive football and they fought back a bunch. Steve Angeli actually looks like a very competent quarterback for the Syracuse Orange, but yeah, give me Clemson and that overall just angry roster that they probably have. Wofford and Virginia Tech, and I'll be honest with you, after the performance that Virginia Tech put in last week, I was close to taking Wofford, but I believe the head coach was fired, new head coach in. Give me perfect game for a new head coach to bring in his regime. Give me VT over Wofford in that one. TCU and SMU, a battle of the 3-lettered teams here. Give me TCU. I love what TCU has done so far this year, and I think a win over SMU gets them ranked. Josh Hoover is very quietly one of the better quarterbacks so far in the Big 12 this season, and he just doesn't put the ball in harm's way. Bowling Green and Louisville. Give me Louisville over Bowling Green. Isaac Brown, Miller Moss, just going to be too much for the Bowling Green defense. UNLV traveling to Ohio to take on Miami of Ohio. Give me UNLV. They had a bye week last week, but they were playing some really strong football before that. So I expect him to go, even though the Red Hawks do have a pretty stellar defense for the MAC. I don't think they're going to be able to keep up with UNLV. How about North Texas dropping a 59 bomb last week on, what was it, Washington State? Washington State is absolutely terrible. I honestly had no idea they'd be as bad as they have been to start the year. We should have known it was bad when they almost lost to Idaho in week 1. But yeah, give me North Texas again over Army. I really thought they were going to struggle early on in the year trying to figure out how to replicate Chandler Morris's production, but the defensive side has been pretty good so far for them, and that was a concern last year coming in. They were giving up 36 and a half points a game last year, but Army is not great, not as great as they were. I mean, last year they came in and they won the American Athletic Conference in their first year. They are off to a pretty piss poor start to the season, in my opinion here. Give me North Texas over Army. South Carolina State against South Florida. Give me South Florida, who I still think should be ranked, to be quite honest with you, because even though they did lose pretty heftily to Miami, I mean, they're the number 4 team in the country. I think it was kind of harsh to take them out of the top 25, but with another win against South Carolina State, they'll probably make their way at number 25 or 24. UAB taking on Tennessee. They got a much-needed victory last week, and Tennessee lost an absolute heartbreaker to Georgia. Probably the game of the season, honestly. Give me Tennessee quite easily over UAB. Wagner taking on Central Michigan. Give me the Chippewas over Wagner. Oregon State against taking on Oregon, and Oregon is just an absolute machine. Dante Moore looks unbelievable. Kenyon Sadiq looks great. The offensive line looks great. The defensive side looks great. Oregon's going to win big time against their rivals here. Florida State and Kent State, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Give me Florida State. The number 7 overall team seems awfully high for a team that was, 2-10 last year, and their signature win coming off of a watered-down Alabama. So it just looks like the polls were just dying for Florida to get off to a hot start. But they've been good so far this season, so all credit to them. They must have started off right outside the top 25 for them to be this high up this early. But they're playing Kent State. Give me Florida State, obviously. Auburn going to Oklahoma. This is the Jackson Arnold Bowl here. Give me John Mateer and the Oklahoma Sooners over Auburn. Auburn's played some impressive football so far this year. I think the pass game hasn't been nearly as good as we thought it was going to be to start up the season. And against a very stout Oklahoma team who's fresh off of a couple really impressive victories back-to-back, give me Oklahoma over Auburn to get inside the top 10 of the polls. Tulane taking on Ole Miss. Tulane coming off of a very solid victory over Duke last week in the Darien Mensa Bowl. But they're running into an Ole Miss team that, except for a hiccup a couple weeks ago against Kentucky, where that game was much more closer than it needed to be. I think they're a very, very good team, well-oiled machine. Lane Kiffin yet again just has this team ready to play week in and week out. I think it's going to be tougher than expected, but give me Ole Miss over Tulane. Nebraska and Michigan. Give me Nebraska over Michigan. I feel like they've been teetering on the edge of being in the top 25 or not, and I feel like this team is back. I feel like a top 15 finish for Nebraska is well within their reach, and it would be, if there's a game to win in the next few weeks, it's going to be this one against Michigan. So I think it's a little bit of a stunning pick, to be quite honest with you, but I'm going to take the Cornhuskers over the visiting Michigan Wolverines, because quite honestly, Michigan hasn't looked that strong against like and kind opponents. I know Oklahoma is better than Nebraska, so I mean that's not fair to go off of. But Bryce Underwood looks good, but there's a couple parts of his game that he needs to work out the kinks of. I mean, super young, true freshman. It's going to happen, but give me Nebraska over Michigan in this one. Then you have Notre Dame taking on Purdue. Give me the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. When was the last time a team started off? What did Notre Dame start in the top 5? They must have started off in. I want to say, what was the last time a team started off in the top 5, lost their first 2 games, and are still in the top 25 poll? The polls love the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, but I think they get their first win of the year against this Purdue team. Unk University versus UCF. Give me the Tar Heels, because they're getting into that super soft as baby shit part of their schedule where they're probably going to look very, very good after getting demolished by TCU in week 1. They played Charlotte in week 2. They came off of a 41-6 win against Richmond, and then they have UCF. So I fully expect them to get a 3-1 start to the season. UConn taking on Ball State. Is UConn ever going to win a game for me? Because I spoke extremely highly of them in the off season, and they just are consistently letting me down. But Ball State is another team that I just don't think can beat UConn. So reluctantly, again, I'm going to pick UConn, and we'll see where that gets us. James Madison taking on Liberty. James Madison for me is clear the runaway in this conference as of right now. So give me JMU over Liberty, who look a step behind that they have looked in the last couple of years. Louisiana taking on Eastern Michigan. Give me Louisiana, the Ragin' Cajuns over the Eastern Michigan Eagles. The Troy Trojans taking on the Buffalo Bulls here. Give me the Buffalo Bulls. Troy has actually played some pretty decent football to start the year, but Buffalo seem to be catching fire at the right time right now. So, they're getting activated. Al-Jay Henderson is starting to run the ball a lot better for them as well. So give me the Bulls over the Trojans in this one. Toledo taking on Western Michigan. Give me Toledo over the Broncos in that one. Gardner-Webb taking on Ohio. Give me Ohio in that one. NC State versus Duke. This is going to be a tough one here, but give me the Duke Blue Devils over NC State. I think it was slightly disappointing that Duke lost last week to Tulane. I think Duke has a better overall team, especially on the defensive side, than Tulane does. So I was surprised to see them lose in the way that they did. NC State has played some pretty decent football to start the year, but I do think Duke at home has a much needed win is on the line. I think they're going to win the game. Mississippi State and Northern Illinois. Give me the Mississippi State Bulldogs here over the Northern Illinois Huskies. The Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets coming off of a monster win against Clemson, a huge victory for this program, which another team that I thought should have been ranked inside the top 25 to start the year is in their rightful place in the top 25 now, taking on Temple. Give me Georgia Tech over Temple in that one. San Jose State and Idaho. Give me the Spartans in that one, another team that I think could sneakily make their way into the Mountain West title game this upcoming year. West Virginia and Kansas. I've picked against West Virginia like every single week so far, and I think the one week that I did pick them, they lost, and then I lost the other two games, I think, too. So I just have no idea what to do with West Virginia. But give me Kansas. I'm relatively high on Kansas this year. Jalen Daniel has looked pretty good so far this year. So give me the Kansas Jayhawks over the Mountaineers. Florida International coming off of an impressive victory over their rivals, Florida Atlantic, taking on Delaware, who just got their first FBS victory was it over UConn? I don't remember who it was actually off the top of my head, but oh no, it was I got to go back in my notes from last week, that I picked all the teams. But regardless, Delaware did get their first victory in overtime. Give me Florida International over Delaware. I think they're building a little bit of momentum here. They're going to have a fire under their ass after beating their rivals, FAU. So give me Florida International on a nice back-to-back victories over FAU and Delaware. You have Arkansas State taking on Kennesaw State. Jalen Rayner, I think, is finally going to get right in this game. They put up a very good battle last week against Iowa State, only losing by a possession to a top 15 team. So I think they're going to take that and build upon it. And Kennesaw State is kind of just dead in the water in this one. So give me the Red Wolves over Kennesaw State. Akron against, we've talked about this before. You can go back to my week 1 video if you're watching this at this time. I don't know how to say this name of this college. I never have. I never will. I've watched games with them played and heard their name said a bunch of times, and I just can't do it. So I'm taking Akron just because I feel like this is really the only game that Akron can win on their schedule, to be quite honest with you. You have South Carolina, unranked now. I feel like the polls are really harsh so far this year to every team except Notre Dame. But give me the Tigers and Bo Pribula over South Carolina, especially if Lenora Sellers doesn't play. I feel like they kind of just rolled over and died last week against Vanderbilt. Once Lenora Sellers got taken out of the game, the wind was just completely knocked out of their sails. Give me the 23rd overall team in the country. Murray State and Jacksonville State. Give me Jacksonville State here. Marshall taking on Middle Tennessee State. Middle Tennessee State is in the same boat as West Virginia. I'm 0-3 picking with them or against them this year. But I think Marshall's got some really decent momentum building over the last couple weeks. I know that they lost to Missouri State a couple weeks ago. They beat an FCS team last week. I think they got Middle Tennessee State to me is just such a garbage team. Give me Marshall over Middle Tennessee State. Missouri State coming off of very, very impressive back-to-back performances. They got their first ever FBS win over Marshall 2 weeks ago, and then only lost 28-10 after being up 10-0 against SMU last week. So give me Missouri State against U Tennessee Martin. Nevada taking on Western Kentucky. Give me the Hilltoppers over the Wolfpack. Just a I don't know. That's another team that is just so odd to me this year. Boise State taking on Air Force. Give me Boise State. Last week I picked Air Force to win, and they kind of broke my heart. They don't look great to start the year. Georgia Southern and Maine. This is the start of the Georgia State comeback. I think I had them as like 8-4 or like 9-3 this year. I think that the win last week is really going to propel them. They're facing Maine, so they're facing an FCS school here. Give me Georgia Southern over Maine. Coastal Carolina coming off of a dismal performance. Everyone is ranting and raving about Coastal Carolina's concessions being free. Even if they paid me, I wouldn't go to a Coastal Carolina game right now. The Chanticleers have an awful offense right now, and South Alabama is coming off of a bye week, I'm pretty sure. Give me South Alabama. Give me the Jaguars over the Chanticleers in that one. Florida taking on Miami, and this is where Florida just has like the worst turn of a schedule for anyone. I think the two teams in college football that have the two hardest schedules are Syracuse and Florida. It does not get any easier for Florida. They faced LSU last week. They faced Miami this week. It just gets worse and worse. Oklahoma has a bad schedule too, but I think they're well equipped compared to Florida. So give me Miami over the Gators. Illinois, the Fighting Illini, my crush for college football this year, taking on the Indiana Hoosiers. The Indiana Hoosiers haven't really been tested so far this year. I think it's going to be difficult for them, and they're favored in this one. I don't know. Luke Altmaier and that rushing attack, honestly, I can't see anyone stopping them right now. I'm going to take the Fighting Illini over Indiana. I truly think that this team is so good, and they're still so underrated, even after being ninth in the country. I think this is really the first true test this season for Fernando Mendoza, and this is a tough Illinois defense. So give me the Fighting Illini over Indiana. You have Georgia State and Vanderbilt in this one here. Give me Vanderbilt coming off of a impressive victory on paper over South Carolina, but when you hear that Lenore Sellers got taken out of the game early and the Gamecocks rolled over and died after their star quarterback left, it's a little less impressive. But Diego Pavia is really just working wonders with this program over the last couple of years. Washington and Washington State, one of the worst teams in the FBS. Washington State, give me Washington all day. Damon Williams, I think, is going to have a field day between him, Jonah Coleman, Denzel Boston. That offense is going to have a field day against this extremely porous Cougars team. It seems like after John Mateer transferred like that, you want to talk about the Gamecocks rolling over and dying. It seems like the Cougars rolled over and died for the entire season. They've been terrible so far this year. But give me the Huskies over the Cougars in that one. Stanford at Virginia, coming off of a very impressive victory for Frank Reich. You know what? I'm going to ride the hot hand. Give me Stanford over Virginia. Stanford, a 30-10 victory over Boston College. That was a team that offensively, I feel like, completely out-trumped Stanford, but they held them very well to 20 points. So give me Stanford over Virginia in this one. Baylor hosting Arizona State. Give me Baylor in this one. I think this is going to be an extremely high-scoring affair. Arizona State has a decent defense. Baylor does not, but I feel like Sawyer Robertson and his arm are going to keep them in it. Jordan Tyson's playing some unbelievable ball, so is Sam Leavitt, but I think that the Baylor Bears, led by their star quarterback, Sawyer Robertson, and Bryson Washington, are going to beat Arizona State. And you have BYU taking on Eastern Carolina. Give me BYU and Chase Roberts in this one. Southern Miss taking on Louisiana Tech. Southern Miss gaining quite a bit of momentum over the last couple weeks after getting decimated by Mississippi State in week 1. Give me Southern Miss over LA Tech. Southeastern Louisiana has the unfortunate task of going into Tiger Stadium and facing LSU. So that is my candidate for blowout of the week. It might be 60-0 by halftime in this one. Although I will say Garrett Nussmeier and the LSU Tigers aren't playing well offensively. It's the defense that's really, really carrying them. Sam Houston State have the unfortunate, well, you know what? I don't know. UTEP gave Texas some hard times last week. The line is 40.5. I don't buy that. There's something wrong with Arch Manning that we're just not seeing or that we were just not hearing. Uh, but I think the guy, there's something wrong. Something wrong with his shoulder, something wrong with his throwing arm. I don't know what it is, but he does not look great. But give me Texas over Sam Houston State anyway. Then you have Utah State taking on McNeese. Give me Utah State in that one. Texas State against Nichols. Give me Nick. Whoa! Give me Texas State in that one. Sorry, that was almost crazy there. UTEP hosting Louisiana Monroe. I know that I just spoke highly of UTEP that they gave Texas a hard time, but give me Louisiana Monroe. I think they need a much needed victory in this one. And I think UTEP is just one of those teams that I like what they have offensively with Malachi Nelson, but I don't know. They can't put it together. Give me Louisiana Monroe for a much needed victory over UTEP away from home. UTSA taking on Colorado State. Give me the Roadrunners in this one. Owen McCown looked fantastic last week. He is firing on all cylinders, and when he's firing on all cylinders, that offense is one of the best in the group of five. Colorado taking on Wyoming, despite the quarterback troubles. Give me Colorado over Wyoming in this one. Cal taking on San Diego State. I'm not even going to try and attempt to say the name of the true freshman quarterback that Cal has, but he is a superstar. Give me Cal over San Diego State. USC finally ranked this season at number 25 overall, taking on Michigan State at home. Give me USC. This is a tougher task than you would think with Aiden Chili's, the way that he's been playing so far this year. But the USC offense and defense have basically been firing on all cylinders, so I expect a fairly comfortable win. And then Fresno State taking on Hawaii. This is the first time this year that I'm going against Michael Alejo and the Rainbow Warriors, but give me Fresno State in this one over the Rainbow Warriors to end it off. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There are my picks for week 4 of the college football season. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope I see you in the next one.